Hi everyone, welcome to my channel dedicated to learning Microsoft Fabric. My name is Fikrat and today we are learning a script activity, which is a transformation activity. In past few sessions, we have explored some activities like lookup activity and stored procedure activities, which allows you to to run certain queries within your database. So in case of lookup activity, so that allows you to run queries, so some read queries, select queries, and then you can from there you can either receive single value or scalar value, or you can get set data set which can be used further down within the pipeline. So limitation of lookup activity is that you cannot run update or delete statements or insert statement using lookup activity. We also explored stored procedure activity, which gives you capability of both. So you can return select statement. So you can return data set from this activity, but you can also perform some data manipulation activities. So you can insert, delete, update, so whatever, or you can even create tables using the stored procedure. Um, However, obviously limitation of this is that you have to create this object or stored procedure object for that, which may not be ideal in some scenarios. The script activity, on the other hand, it combines advantage of both activities. So it allows you to read as well as to perform certain actions within your database. So in today's session, I'm going to explore basic functionality of this activity, and I'll also build some simple pipeline to demonstrate how it can be used. Okay, so here I am in newly created pipeline, and I'm going to add script activity here. So the first activity is going to be in query mode, so it will just run select statement. So I'll call it query, and I'll open settings and select my Azure SQL connection. And as for the query, I'm gonna copy paste the queries that I prepared earlier. So this is the query. It brings the rows from sales order header table for certain order date period. Now I can run this like this. However, great thing about this activity is that I can also parameterize it. So I'm going to add parameter here, and I'll call this p order date. I'll say specify its data type as string, and I will put this value, so this date, as value here. And I'm gonna come back here and specify this parameter name instead of hard-coded value. Finally, I also have to specify direction, so the parameter direction, so it's gonna be input in this case. Okay, so my first activity is ready. Now I'm gonna just clone this to save the time and repurpose its copy for stored procedure purposes. I'll remove this query. And here I have prepared store procedure, which calculates summary of order quantity from sales order detail table. And so output is passed to output variable, output parameter called total quantity. So I already run this store procedure and it's in my database. And this is going to be command to call that store procedure. Now put that query and I will change my parameter name to total quantity. I'm going to change my type to integer and I'll replace it with 0 as initial value. Now I have to change the direction from input to output because I'm expecting data from this store procedure. Okay, it's done. Now I'm going to clone this and create another version of that for the purposes of update. So because this is DML query, it's not a read query, I need to use non-query option here. I will switch here, remove my query, and we'll replace it with update queries that I prepared here. Okay, I'm gonna rename my parameter name. I'll keep my data type, and for value, I will pass some values which are already in the database. And the direction of this parameter is going to be input. Okay, now my pipeline is ready. I'm going to save and run it. Okay, so my pipeline has completed. So let's examine the first select query, output from select query. So I go to output and expand output. So you can see we have JSON here and here for data sets. We have, so all the data sets is JSON array put under rows node. Okay, close this. And let's examine output from store procedure. So as expected, we have total quantity, and this is my aggregation result. And we can take a look at update activity as well, but because it's DML, we won't see much from here. Although we can see number of records affected here, which is great. All right, now that we know how script activity works, let's build a simple pipeline that will demonstrate this activity in action in practical applications. So what I'm gonna do is to build iterative logic here. It will receive sales order data from my first activity. And then for each sales order is gonna run store procedure to calculate order detail aggregation. So let me first add my for each activity. So I'll switch to activities and add for each here and create a link between these two. I'll call my activity as for each sales order. Before I continue, I'll need to add variables that will help us to trace values passed between different iteration within for each activity. So let me switch to variables and add sales order variable here, sales order ID. It's gonna be integer type. And let me show you output from this, the first script activity again, so that it will be easy to create expression. So I'll move here. Okay, so as you can see, we have two-level hierarchy JSON. So let me expand this. So here I have result sets. Let me copy this. And under that we have array. So in this case, we have only one value within this array. And that within that array, we have a rows collection, which contains my data set. So this information will be important when we configure our for each activity. So close this and get back to my settings. And here I'll open expression builder and I'll use script activities activity output. Now I need to add these two levels of JSON here so that my for each activity items are based on my sales order header tables data set. So I'll add result sets and under that I have array. So I'm going to select the first element of that array. And finally, I'm going to specify rows. So this is another node. Okay. And I'll move this stored procedure activity within for each. I'll just cut and paste it within my for each activity. And I'll add set variable activity to receive that sales order. Open settings, and here I am saying use this variable, and so I'll open expression builder to build expression for value. So my values will come from for each item collection. So I'm going to use this expression, and under that I have sales order ID column. So I'll need to add sales order ID. Okay, now I can create a link between set variable and my store procedure activity, and I'll select, now I can configure my uh, store procedure script activity, and here expand this. So here, instead of hard coding my sales order ID, I'll just remove this and open expression builder, and I'll just use variables that I have just assigned. So this is going to be sales order variable. All right, my pipeline configuration is complete. I might potentially use output from update script as well. Uh, so as you may remember, we have a number of rows affected. So in some scenarios, you might need this information, but for now, I'll just keep it as is. So save and run my pipeline. Okay, my pipeline has completed. I'm gonna expand my execution history and review values that I am passing for sales order variable. So we have one sales order ID, another sales order ID. If I scroll down, I can see my store procedures. So let me just examine input. So as you can see, order ID has been passed as input ID, and if I click on output, I can see total quantity um, for that sales order ID, and I can examine another sales order. Okay, so that means the pipeline works as expected. With that, I'm gonna wrap up today's session. I hope this helped you to understand the script activity better. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in future videos.